for the last couple of years, the conversation in the United States between the right and the left regarding social media is that the right wants social media to stop censoring, while the left wants social media to censor even more. Because it seems that privacy and the ability to express yourself as a mature adult on the internet is pure poison to left-wing politics. And even though in the past you didn't hear the government in the United States arguing for the postal office to censor people's mail or for the phone companies to listen in on people's telephones, now it seems that democracy cannot coexist with people freely expressing themselves. If people gather around and they just talk to each other, democracy collapses. At least this is the vision. This is what is being presented to us.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 And it escalates to ridiculous amounts to the point where the president of the United States is making statements such as Facebook is killing people. All right, so during this whole moral panic, during this hysteria, you now have a random lady who pops up fully equipped with a donate button, and she testifies at a hearing saying exactly word for word what the Democrats wanted to hear. All of their talking points getting 100% validated. Now, what the mainstream media doesn't tell you is the fact that she is not just a random person. No, she is a clear activist. If you look at her history, she donated to AOC's political campaign. She donated to Change PAC, one of AOC's crews, which endorses the ideals of racial, social, economic, and environmental justice. She donates to Act Blue. And of course, she also donates to the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, the same committee that she is now testifying in front of. And furthermore, she's now being coached by Obama alumni. So let's imagine that the reverse was true. If a person working at big tech had a history of donating money to the Republicans, if that person would be leaking for months information from big tech to Breitbart, and if he was being coached by Steve Bannon, and then he would go in front of a hearing committee with Republicans and validate every single one of their talking points, what would the left say? Because exactly what the left would say is what you would need to be saying right now. Honestly, like any person with a brain could have realized this. You're telling me that this person just pops up, leaks a lot of articles to the Wall Street Journal, and within 48 hours, she's doing Senate committees and she's in front of the mainstream media. Like, how can all of this happen so fast? Like, why wasn't there even a 1 week break so that the senators could at least formulate the questions they want to ask? No, like everything was ready to go. And when you look at the committee, everyone was very emotionless. Everyone was just like reading from a script. It was very bizarre. I made the live stream looking at the whole Senate hearing, and it was very bizarre, right? It didn't seem like these are people concerned about the children. It seemed like there were people concerned about reading what's on their papers properly and not missing a word. But anyway, like here are the 9 horrifying facts, the talking points that all the Democrats agree with. So we get the Facebook algorithm intentionally shows users things that makes them angry. Which, let's be honest, how is that different than the news? How is that different than CNN? You can make the exact same argument for CNN. Facebook is worse than most social media companies. This is entirely subjective. There is no measurement to see. Because if there is a measurement, then by how much percent is Facebook worse than TikTok? Like what is the measurement for the quote-unquote worse. Maybe Trump, huh? It's like 3 deca Trumps worse than Twitter. Like, how do you measure this? Facebook dissolved its civic integrity unit after the election. Like, where does it say Facebook even needed to have a unit? Where is the legislation that says it needed to have it? And how long was it supposed to have it? I mean, yes, after the elections, it dissolved it. My question is, like, why didn't the politicians make sure that the cops around Washington, D.C. were in sufficient numbers to prevent people from entering the building? You would think a nation that spends trillions of dollars on defense could afford to defend one of the most important buildings. But I guess that's a question we're not going to have an answer for. Political parties in Europe ran negative ads because it was the only way to reach people on Facebook. Every single election has political parties running negative ads. Like, let's be honest. Tell me an election that doesn't have negative ads. Facebook only identifies a tiny fraction of hate and misinformation on the platform. I mean, there's probably tens, if not hundreds of millions of messages going on Facebook every second. How do you want them to identify all of the ambiguous thing that you call hate and misinformation? Let's be honest. And since when did we as a society decide that misinformation should be illegal? Notice there's no laws against misinformation. Why is that? Because we live in a free and just society, you evil woman. People are grown-ass adults. They should use their own brains to figure out what is misinformation and what isn't. Because let's be honest, the government infantilizing their citizens, pretending like people can't discern fact from fiction, is ludicrous. You do that every day. If you go and you buy a car, and you go to a car salesman, he's going to give you a lot of misinformation. He's going to tell you that it's the best car ever. He's going to tell you that, oh my god, like, if you buy this car, you're going to make such a bargain. But what do? You fact check it. You go and you look at the model of the car, you ask your friends, you study a little bit, maybe you get your own mechanic and you do a fact check, and then you decide if it's true or not. You do that every single day. Even when you buy a loaf of bread, you squeeze it a little bit to see if it's fresh, because you are fact checking. You do that with every single aspect of your life. You know, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Hey, it happens. But you know what? You don't need the fact checkers and the anointed ones to tell you if that car is good for you or not. Since when, like, should people that are talking on the phone should have, like, someone listening into the conversation and go like, you can't say that because that's misinformation. There are no more two sides of every issue. There is our side, our democracy, and then there's misinformation. That's pretty much the society, the utopia that our enlightened leaders want to create in almost every single nation now. So let me get this straight. If I see a woman that comes out and puts a picture on Instagram and says, how do I look? And I say, oh, you look gorgeous. That's misinformation, right? Because she looks like a fat cow and I should tell her the truth. Because otherwise I might get the Democrats upset. Instagram is making kids miserable. I mean, a lot of things are making kids miserable. I mean, before Instagram, people would say that the television is making kids miserable. Why not talk about high divorce rates? Do you not think that makes kids miserable? What about the feminist movement? Is that better or worse when it comes with marriage and divorces? What about, corporations and the liberation of women so that they can now slave at a company for 10, 11 hours a day? What does that do to the children that stay at home? Why don't you talk about, the massive immigration? I can tell you this from a Romanian perspective, because you get a lot of people now that are leaving Romania and they're going to work in Germany, Italy, or France, and they're leaving their kids behind. What do you think happens with those kids? Hey, you're not going to talk about it. No, Instagram is the problem, not the lack of parenting. I mean, the entire mainstream media culture right now, whether it is Hollywood movies, whether it's TV shows, whether it's magazines made for teenagers, probably even in schools, as well as like the feminist movement, I'm just putting it out there because everyone probably heard about it, encourages people, hey, you know what, go have fun, zero responsibility, have as much sex as you want. Just as much as possible. Marriage is a heteronormative patriarchal concept. You probably don't need to get married anyway. Just go out and have fun. And if you have a kid, you can get an abortion. It's a human right. And then the same people that are advocating for this, like, I'm not judging them. I'm saying, like, hey, it's a way of thinking, right? It's a way of viewing the world. It's a way of creating a society. But the same people are now coming up to me with poker faces telling me they care about the children. It's like, I'm sorry, but your worldview is incompatible with that. Either you care about the children and then the parents are going to have to make sacrifices, or you don't care about the children. But you need to pick one. You can't have both. You're not Naruto to do the Kagebushi no Jutsu and care about both. No, you need to pick one. Employees at Facebook aren't necessarily evil. They just have perverse incentives. No, I think they're evil. 100%. This is like the only title that I agree with. Hagen even has empathy for Zuckerberg for some stupid reason. Okay, again, Gizmodo, right? This is journalism. Like, can you leave out the editorial? Like, this is not part of the news. I don't understand why you have journalists always just going on and having to inject their little opinions pieces. And Hagen believes she's covered by whistleblower laws, but we'll see. Well, what on earth do you think is going to happen to her? Like, do you want to know something funny about whistleblowers in the United States? So, the Biden administration, as you well know, drone striked the wrong target. Apparently, you know, when the white supremacy America is drone striking minorities in a faraway land, there is no outrage because it's a faraway land, I suppose, right? No one gets fired, no one steps down from the job, no one resigns, no punishment, no nothing. Like, if a police officer opens fire in a crowd and hits the wrong person, you bet your ass there's going to be repercussions, as they should. But when the military does it, when the intelligence service do it, it's fine. Do you know who's the only person that might get punished from this? The whistleblower. I guess having a conscience is expensive. I guess when you actually do journalism, when you actually whistleblow, you may get the Assange treatment. But I guess it depends what you whistleblow. When you whistleblow something that the politicians like, that the establishment enjoys, then you get to come equipped with your donate button. When you whistleblow something that makes the establishment look bad, oh well, then I guess there might be consequences. Whistleblowing laws be damned. You know, there was a whistleblower with that came out and spoke against Trump. If I am to say his name right now, if I say his name, this YouTube video gets banned. I'm not even kidding. Like, even Tim Pool talks about it. If you do it on a live stream, if you say the name of that South Park character, the live stream goes down. And it's probably because they used it when the scandal was a thing and they forgot to remove it from the algorithm. So if you say Eric cha-cha-cha-cha-cha and you finish the sentence, then boom, thing goes down. No one even remembers what exactly that guy whistleblown. No one remembers what he said, but the consequences are still there. But for some reason, we are led to assume that this lady is in danger, so you need to donate money for her. Here's my take on this. I think that this benefits Facebook because what they are advocating for right now is to change Article 230. Now, Section 230 says that if you're a... Now, what 230 is, it allows websites to be treated like pharmaceutical companies. In other words, they get immunity from lawsuits. So you can't sue them. But with 230, there is a condition. And that is for the company to be a platform. Which means that they shouldn't, I mean, I know they do, but they shouldn't ban people for opinions. They can ban people if they're doing obscene things. They can ban people if they're doing illegal stuff, but they shouldn't ban people for having opinions, right? So now the Democrats want to remake 230 and say, hey, you want protection from lawsuits? Well, if that's the case, then you're going to need to ban misinformation, you're going to need to ban hate speech, you're going to need to ban this and this and that. Now, this benefits big tech because they have the ability to do that. They have the bots, they have the algorithms, and they have the manpower and the money necessary to police a platform that gets millions, if not tens of millions of messages per hour. But if you're a new company, if you just say, hey, you know what? I want to create a company that allows free speech, and as long as it's legal and it's not banned by any law in the US, you can post it here. If you do that, you can be sued. If you do that, and I call your mother a woman of low moral fiber, then you can sue the company rather than sue me. Because they don't get to benefit from the legal immunity of 230, which means that they can't operate. So that's what they want to do. And unfortunately, there's so many right-wingers that also dislike Facebook that they view this as an attack on Facebook. They view this as, Facebook is finally getting their comeuppance. Mwahahaha. And that's not what this is about. So you're going to be useful idiots for something that you probably don't want it to happen. But it is what it is. Although I do have to say, I find it interesting that they're singling out Facebook with this. Last month, they just sued Facebook and they want to break it apart. And now they're doing this. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they're singling out Facebook. Like, why don't they go after Twitter or any other of the social media platforms? It's just Facebook that's being targeted. So I'm a little bit curious, like, what's going on behind the scenes? What exactly did Zuckerberg do to upset them? Was he not polite at the White House dinner? Like what exactly is happening? It's something that's worth a question. But anyway, right, let me know what you guys think. And as usually, I'll be live streaming right after this. Hopefully, I'll see you on my live stream channel. And if not, I'll get to see you guys in the comment section. Take care.